Rand, you started and ran Moss from 2001 to 2017. The stat that I found is build it to roughly 50 million in ARR. Then there was this whole story around you leaving, being ousted, not being ousted, leaving on your own terms. But either way, you left Moss and you started SparkToro in 2018. And I think you guys are still only a team of three. Is that correct? You and your co-founder and Amanda.
That's right. Yep,
Yep.
just the three of
Yep.
us.
Yep. Very cool. I want to talk. I know that probably some of you guys joined here for, brand awareness, content, social search, because obviously, Rand, you have, unlimited amount of expertise there. I would really love to explore just this transition from VC-backed hustle to small, profitable, calm company. So you guys in the audience, Mike, Inga, Chris, Michael, if you want to just drop a couple keywords on like the topics that you're most interested in from Rand's perspective, so I can try to navigate a little bit and not only talk about what I find most interesting. And you can obviously at any point drop in a question. And also the people who are watching from the live stream, you guys can drop in a question too, and I'll go there. Okay, first question. So when you left Moss, you wrote that, and I quote, with SparkToro, you resolved to completely overhaul how you designed a business, its goals, and its operations. What were like what was that overhaul? What were some of the key differences, decisions that you put in place?
Well, I think one thing was for a long time, Finn, Moz, my previous company, my first company, was quite founder-led marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But as we scaled up, as we took venture, there was a forcing function to diversify the marketing efforts, right? You can't just be reliant on the founder. The founder can leave, can be pushed out, can get hit by a bus, right? And obviously, your investors who put in tens of millions of dollars need their investment secured. So we hired a lot of people into our marketing team. We tried to diversify that. We put a lot of effort into paid and performance marketing, which never was hugely successful for us. I think that, as I wrote in Lost and Founder, startups inherit the DNA, positive and negative, of their founders. And Moz inherited my natural predilection for content marketing and SEO and social media marketing and video marketing. And it also inherited my core weakness, which is paid and performance. Something I've never been good at, never really been interested in. And I think because of that, the business just wasn't built around it and it never benefited all that much. I think at the tip top of our spend, maybe performance marketing was responsible for 15 to 20% of signups.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I transitioned to SparkToro, I just gave myself permission to do what I'm good at, which I think there's two ways to think about this. Like, you can fight against your natural instincts. You can fight against your natural sort of strengths and weaknesses, or you can just embrace them. And I think if you want to build a calm company and you want to love what you do, it's kind of great to embrace the thing that you're great at and supplement the things that you're bad at with other people, or build a company that doesn't need you to be good at those things. And that is exactly the intention behind SparkToro, is basically build a company that has no need for the kinds of things that I don't love to do and I'm not good at.
One of the classic advices is, in the beginning, you need to kind of do whatever it takes. So you need to do marketing and sales and HR and finance and everything as a founder, right? And then eventually, hopefully, sure, you grow to a point where you can just outsource, delegate, and hire for the things that you don't enjoy or the things that you're not good at. But you guys are only a team of three. So it's not like you have a team where you can just be like, you do the finance and you do the HR and you do this and I'll only do marketing. How do you think about, like, is it as simple as saying, if I don't enjoy doing client calls, I should just not run an agency and that's the wrong business for me to be in? Or like, how do you do that when you're only three people?
Yeah. So I want to be clear. I think the wrong word here is not do it at all. That is too extreme. The right way to phrase it is minimize it and minimize the need for it. So I'm not good at paid and performance marketing. We haven't really invested in that. We did some trials with like an outsourced agency. They haven't been super successful yet. So we're, still considering whether we want to invest there. But for example, sales calls. So this was something that early on we did do. And I saw a question, someone asked about how did you get your first big customers?
Yep, Mike.
Yeah. So Mike, what I tried to do, what I thought would be the right thing to do is to have those enterprise sales type calls to, people reach out. They say, hey, I checked out SparkToro, the product looks really interesting, but I'd love someone to walk me through it. And I probably did, I think in our first 12 to 16 months, I did maybe 60 or 70 of those types of calls with people who wrote in. So, it wasn't outreach. It wasn't external me pitching people, but it was people who would come to us, ask for this. You want to know what the close rate on that is? For me, my close rate of those approximately 80, we had 2 signups. Every day, SparkToro got 5 or 6 signups with no sales call.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell was I doing, right? Like, just put effort into the thing that's working. And when people write in for the last 3 years, when people have written into SparkToro, myself or Amanda or Casey will write back and say, I'm sorry, we don't offer demos. Here's some videos you can check out. It works out fine.
It's what do you do? I feel like it's easier if you do 60 demos, you only close 2 because you can kind of say, I don't enjoy it and I'm bad at it. What do you do if you do 60 demos and you close 30 and you don't enjoy it?
Well, I would then probably tell you, is there a way you could modify what you do to make it more enjoyable, right? Do you got to change up the style? Do you want to make those calls? Is it something where, hey, I'm really good at it, so I can train somebody to do this, and then I can basically be good at this thing that I don't have to personally do myself, which I think is another excellent way to, build a long-lasting, successful company.
Yeah. By the way,
there's options.
Just for people, for context, I know you don't talk about that, but I think the last publicly shared number that I saw was 1.5 million ARR.
We're in that range. Yep.
Okay. So, when I say 3 people, so people have an idea.
Yeah. We're not doing like $10 million of revenue or anything. No.
No, but I'm saying, I think when most people hear 3 people, they might think much smaller numbers than.
I see. Yes.
So, okay. What were the other, so you talked about the focus on what you're good at. Did you put any other limitations on the company? Like, we're not going to do any internal calls. We're not going to, from the lessons at Moz that contributed to building a calm company?
Yeah. A big one for sure was that we wanted to limit overhead and management, which meant that anybody that we brought onto the team, myself and Casey included, were very, I would say, focused, responsible. You can completely sort of trust us to do our work. We don't need check-ins. I'll tell you the minute that Casey and I were sold on hiring Amanda, because she pitched us, right? She came to us and said, hey, I should be SparkToro's first employee. Let me tell you why. And when she said, I don't love managers who check in with me. Like, if you're worried about something, let me know, of course. But if I'm worried about something, if I have an issue, if I'm struggling in my work, if I want to tell you what I'm doing, I'm just going to tell you. You don't need to check in. And we went, yep, that's the person for us, right? That is exactly the kind of hire. So I think one of those is leaning into cultural fit, right? Just saying, hey, this is how we are. We're not going to try and sort of arbitrarily hire the 10X person. We're going to hire the 10X culture fit, the fit for us, not the, whatever we think is the most dreamy candidate by some, external metric. Another thing that was a big deal for us with SparkToro was building a product that had a lot of, no need for intense uptime maintenance and stressful situations. So our product does not interact or engage with anything on our customer's end. Like, they don't have to plug it into their analytics system. They don't have to add it to their CMS. They're not, authorizing their credit card payment processing system. There's no pixel sitting in their website. It's an entirely external tool. If it goes down, which has happened, a couple hours out of every year. So Casey's very good at uptime, but people don't really notice or care. Like, it's not that big a deal. If you can't access SparkToro for an hour, you do it tomorrow. You run your report again later. We've occasionally had someone say, hey, this report's hanging for me, but nobody stresses out if we don't reply for, until the next morning. Mm-hmm. So that was another big component. I'm going to say this. That intentionally limits revenue and churn reduction opportunities, right? Like, we have built a product that does not, because it doesn't connect into lots of other systems, it also loses out on the, hey, this is hard to replace. It's a pain in the ass to take it out of our system. So let's just keep paying for it. And so as a result, our churn rate is quite high. People use us when they need us. They quit when they don't need us. They sign back up when they need us again. We also, we got to a headspace where we're really comfortable with that. And right now, today, I think a lot of people are shocked to find out that 20% of our customers who sign up every month have been customers before. Mm-hmm. And so for us, lifetime value is not lifetime of one subscription. It's lifetime across the life of a customer's multiple subscription periods. And almost everyone is a multi-time customer.
Yeah. Was this so did you actually after leaving Moz sit down and this whole idea around not being this kind of mission critical integrated with all of their tools type of thing, was that a thing that you wrote down, you journaled about and then SparkToro, or was that like a pivot you made later or just happened naturally?
Yeah, it was more intentional. So basically, Casey and I got together, I want to say maybe 5 to 10 times at restaurants and cafes and, go out for a drink, meet up at the office, like whatever. And we wrote down kind of all these things. I actually have it in a notebook. I think back in my hotel room, have it in a notebook where I've written down kind of all these things that we believe will be true, both about the market and about ourselves and what we want and what we're trying to build. And then kind of taking those almost like rules for business life and turning them into a company and making sure that they aligned. And so that actually turned into our core values at SparkToro, which we wrote a blog post about, but it's more for us than for external people. And I don't want to suggest that everyone or anyone listening needs to use what we use, but I do think it is incredibly valuable to have a set of core values that you stick to as a company. Ours are called BLUX, that's an acronym. And you can search for SparkToro core values and read through them if you want. But yeah, I mean, one of the first letter in BLUX is boundaries. We are very boundaried about our work and about our work lives and our personal lives. And so
how do you think, and yes, go for it.
No, I was going to say, I realize that's unusual to say when I'm supposed to be kind of on a mini vacation after a work week here in Italy, but Geraldine's over at a gelateria, so she'll be fine.
I mean, I asked you and you said yes. So
yeah.
That
Plus,
was
it's
your
perfect since the European timing is great.
There we go. How do you think about it? It feels like SaaS is becoming more and more competitive, more and more fast moving, all of these AI tools, and it's so easy to build features and new products popping up left and right. How do you think about you being able to run a calm, small company when maybe, I don't know, someone looks at SparkToro and says, I'll build this, I'll use ChatGPT, I'll work 80 hours a week, I will not have weekends, I will not have work-life balance, I will maybe raise some VC money and hire a team of 10 engineers and 20 marketers, et cetera, et cetera. Do you worry about that? How do you think about the sustainability of, tell me, give me your point of view.
Let's see, I don't worry about it at all. I think if anyone were to raise venture in our particular sector, right, audience research software, as you mentioned, right, we're doing somewhere around, north of $1, less than $2 million. And we're the biggest player in this tiny little market. Who would ever fund a company where, this sector is teeny tiny? And very frankly, let's say someone did build a product and it were very competitive. Let's say it was a better product than SparkToro. What could they charge more? Are there enough more customers out there for them? Are they gonna be able to build a brand? Like, will people have heard of them? I think it would take a long time and an incredible amount of effort to build up the marketing and brand recognition. Whereas, I'm sort of spoiled in that when I left Moz, I knew that the next day, tons of people, tens of thousands, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people would be paying attention to what is Rand doing next. And so I waited to essentially announce my departure from Moz until I could time it exactly with starting SparkToro.
Mm-hmm.
And so this way, kind of bring my audience with me. And get that bump, which was very helpful. Those, we had about 14,000 people on the SparkToro, like, I want to have this product waitlist when we launched in 2020. And those became our first 500 customers and basically got us to break even profitability in about 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying I have no fear of competition. I think somebody else could, some big player in the field, a SimilarWeb or a SEMrush or, somebody like that could go and build us kind of as a feature. But if they really want to do that, they should probably buy us, right? Like, and also, $1 to $2 million in revenue, like it's not moving the needle for anybody.
I mean, I guess what I'm also trying to get at is it just, okay, let's say you pick the market where the market opportunity isn't so big, so it's not very attractive for VC money, but there could still be some 20-year-old, some 20-something who's working 80 hours a week. And I guess where I was trying to get at...
Have you seen a lot of those people disrupt a lot of...
I don't know.
Calm companies? I have not seen that. Not in any sector. I know there's a belief,
So
like a
why?
Silicon Valley
Is
sort
it
of belief
brand?
that
Is it that because you guys are moving, let's say more slowly, more calmly, you're making better decisions, and so actually you're doing better work?
yes, I entirely believe that it is because when I was stressed out, when I was working 80-hour weeks at Moz, when I was, putting way too much of my sort of personal value of my life, like who am I as a person, why do I matter in this world, into the company, I think I was making the worst business decisions of my life. And you can see some of the results of those. I've written postmortems about the Moz experience, including in Lost and Founder. And I think that being in a comfortable, relaxed position with investors who are looking for a 2 to 3x return and would be thrilled with anything more than that, and already got their money back, from us, that's just a happy place to be. Like we can look at the market and we can say, for example, AI. AI is like a big thing where we have observed people switching away from SparkToro to AI, and thankfully, thank God, coming back to us because they basically realized that what ChatGPT or Bard or Gemini or any of these other ones are doing is not giving real information about an audience, but rather sort of predictive,
Right.
words that come after other words. And the nice thing about that has been we've sort of watched that market for a few years now, and at this point, we've found some use cases among our customers where we think, hey, these actually are pretty smart things our customers are already doing with SparkToro plus AI tools. Let's add that into the product as a feature. Like, let's make that a seamless experience so that it's even more comfortable and sort of friendly to use SparkToro and AI together. And that, I think that comes from having patience as opposed to if I'd been venture back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have been panicking, man. I would have been like freaking out like everybody else. My venture board would have been breathing down my neck saying, how are you going to use AI? Why isn't it on your homepage? You need to change your whole strategy.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been dumb.
I think who else comes to mind is 37 Signals Basecamp. I think they have not launched a single AI-powered feature so far.
Pretty
And they don't
impressive,
feel,
right? And
yeah.
I don't think their revenue's gone down.
Yeah. If you are constrained, if you want to build a calm company, you're constrained by working 40 hours, 30 hours a week. You want to travel. You don't want to do certain kinds of things like hopping on sales calls. You want to make slow decisions, have the time to think. So you have lots of constraints that maybe another person just pushes through or whatever. What are the things to focus on that actually matter, that really have an impact, that prioritize properly so that in that constraints, you still are able to build a meaningful company and be profitable and grow, etc.?
I think I have come around to the belief that product is 80% of everything, and that essentially the work that we do, designing the product, the interface, which data pieces are included in the product, which ones aren't, how we present information visually, what the data sources are, how we can prove our work. I know there's people who are like, product is everything. I don't believe that. I still strongly believe in marketing. I mean, everyone in this room, everyone who's listening to this has used Adobe PDF. That is a terrible product, a goddamn terrible product in every single way. Anybody who tells you product is everything, like I just point to Adobe PDF. I'm like, well, I don't know, bro. But 80%, absolutely. And certainly for startups and challenger brands that are like trying to make an impact. So product work comes first and foremost for us. Secondarily, after that is the hard work of introducing people to the concept of audience research, finding the right customer, and then learning the pathways and delivery mechanisms that we need to use to reach them and build a resonant marketing message. So that's who are we right for, who are we not right for? It's what sorts of messages when we talk about our product, like they're really into it. They're like, oh yeah, I need that. I use that. That's valuable to me. Like, I get it. We also think really hard about which use cases we do and don't want to serve and nailing that stuff. So yeah, a lot of that, I think what's called product market fit work is, in my opinion, there's no such thing as product market fit. It does not exist. It is a journey, not a destination. You don't get there. We don't have fit and then we do. You are always trying to get a better fit with the right customers. And that is the most important work we do.
All right, let's get to, I've been monopolizing the conversation here. Let's get to some. So Inga, you said transitioning to founder-led marketing. Do you want to frame your question here or give a little bit more context?
So I'm not a founder. I work for founder-led companies. So I've been doing this for 15 years or so. And one of the things that's always interesting to me, and is a particular challenge today, actually, is just how do you, if you don't have a natural sort of founder-led marketer or even founder-led salesperson, how do you actually get that person into, or is there an alternative strategy that you can use? Because,
I think, I feel your pain. And generally, I'm going to go back to the answer I gave earlier about sort of that companies inheriting the DNA, positive and negative, of their founders. And I think that in many cases, the right thing to do can be to find marketing channels that fit with the strengths of the business, rather than trying to force fit a founder-led style of marketing onto a founder who's not a marketer.
Yeah. What would you think? Like, can you give me an example?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that many forms of paid and performance marketing, social media advertising, content advertising, LinkedIn ads, buying email lists from people, sponsoring events, brand investments, outdoor, all sorts of stuff.
All of the standard non-founder-led marketing things.
And you can also invest in a lot of what founder-led marketing is content marketing at its core, right?
Right.
So
thought leadership.
Thought leadership,
I got a founder
exactly.
who's the best in this industry, knows more than anything. I want to get him out there, and I want to get him out there talking about everything he knows and his, amazing, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and
it's just not easy.
I think that can be replaced with great research. Like press loves research, social media world loves research, especially in B2B. I also think it can be replaced with in the B2C fields. You can see a ton of what I'd call mimetic marketing, right? Meme-based marketing, things that are likely to get some virality or some play on social media. They use current events wisely. They intelligently play on trends. They use, kind of youth culture in smart ways. That stuff works really well. So for Inga, I'll tell you, for me, I have absolutely zero presence in the world of video games. I've never done a video game before. I'm a useless founder marketer for Snack Bar, right? For Snack Bar Studio. And so instead, I've been interviewing a bunch of agencies, consultants, marketers in that field and talking to them about hey, how do you do what you do? What are the sort of steps for success? And I found that process to be fascinating, but it is no founder content, right?
So we're sort of flipping that almost. And what I'm trying to do right now, flip that almost, is that, we're bringing in customers, for example, for our founder to do an interview with the customer where he's not exactly speaking all of the time. And it's in his comfort zone. And he loves talking about, these super technical kind of things. And it leaves our customers being the star a little bit. But I still sort of get to have his, unique perspective on the industry that we're in and the business we're in. That's our next stab at that.
I don't think that's a bad idea. And I also want to say, you've got to give yourself sort of the permission and forgiveness to try and fail at a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yes.
Right? This takes a long. Okay, good. Yeah, because
I get that.
I think this is another strong point. Going back to what we were talking about, Finn, right? This is another really strong point of a calm company is the forgiveness and permission to fail and learn and try again and to move more slowly, to not have to be and to not burn out when you're doing it. It's a shocking advantage over a lot of folks who look. I mean, I wrote about the statistics in venture, and they've gotten worse since I wrote Lost and Founder, which is I think it's 95 out of 100 venture-backed startups will not return 1x. They won't even return the money that was invested to them.
Yeah.
Do you have growth goals? Do you set certain things that you want to achieve?
We do. It's moderately informal. We have kind of a, annual thing in January where Amanda and Casey and I have a chat about our performance last year, do a little postmortem on things, and we sort of try and predict the year ahead. This year, we are predicting quite low growth, mostly because of the new American administration and our expectation that the global economy will suffer quite a bit because of that. But we have kind of a process for that.
All right, Michael, you wrote something in it alongside the GTM journey. Do you have a question on that for Rand?
Actually, he answered it before when he said like he timed the launch with his exit. So
yeah, I think that's a really strong technique. The other thing I would do, and we're doing this for Snack Bar Studio, for example, Michael, is I strongly recommend getting like all your emails of all the people you've ever worked with, who know you, who like you, who trust you, who think highly of you. Have those sitting in a sort of doc of some kind, an Excel or a spreadsheet, kind of ready for you to tap into your own personal kind of LinkedIn. A lot of people can't use LinkedIn this way because, they accept too many connections or whatever. Those people aren't really in there, but that is a superpower, being able to email 500 people, even 50 people in your network and say, hey, I'm launching this thing. Don't send it as a BCC. Don't put them all in a group. Email each one individually. It is worth the time and effort to send one email to one person, right? Like when I launched Snack Bar, Finn, I'm so sorry about this, but you're going to get an email, and the email is going to say, hey, Finn, we're launching our video game. Would you go check it out? Like, that would be a huge favor to me.
I will check it out.
Yeah, I think you're going to love it. But also, that one-to-one is so powerful, and when people are on a BCC, they just ignore it, even if they're your best friend.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like impersonal, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But add me on the email list, please.
All right, will do.
Drop your email
Thank
now
you.
if you want to be notified about, or can people sign up to some waitlist somewhere on your website?
Yeah, there's a wait list on snackbarstudio.com, but I mean, to be honest, my expectation is we're going to make a version of the game available to people like you and Michael first. So yeah.
Makes sense. Now, I had a question. When you had that moment that you wrote about, and it was definitely one of your blog posts, I don't know if it's also in your book, when you're in that, I think it's a bar or like a brunch spot in San Diego, when you finally get that email from your bank that from the
Point Break Cafe.
Yes. Well, so Moss was sold. You made a bunch of money that was wired to your bank account. That was a lot of money, and you bought everyone's tab at that place that you were eating at with your wife when you got that news. Did that change anything? Because you were already running SparkToro at the time, and you were already running it with this calm company in mind, but did that windfall change anything with you in terms of your energy, your attitude, anxiety, like how tightly your fists were clenched? I don't know. Like, does that something
absolutely.
to you?
Absolutely. So I would say the big thing that changed was anxiety, fear, willingness to be a little more risky, which actually I'm going to say this too, because my financial situation changed so dramatically, but Casey's, my co-founders, didn't. There was a little bit of like tension and friction in there, not in a bad way, but like, Casey kind of had this, as you would, a reasonable conversation, which is, hey man, you're willing to take these risks because, you have millions of dollars to fall back on. I don't. Like, I got to get my girls through college. We got to pay for our mortgage. Like, I am not comfortable taking some of these risks. And I have defaulted to not making decisions that Casey is uncomfortable with because I know that we're in two different situations. And so, I want to do some riskier stuff around pricing. I wanted to try some riskier product moves. Casey didn't feel comfortable with it. I backed off. I was like, you know what? That's totally fine. We'll do some less risky things that we think will still move the needle. Let's work on those instead. I don't want to blow up your spot. And I'd been in his exact situation for years, right? So like, I get it.
How necessary is this financial windfall for running a calm company?
I mean,
it helps.
Dude, it definitely helps. But I did not have any money when I started SparkToro, right?
Like, and it was calm back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably at a similar level of calm to what it is now. Maybe the first 9 months were a little more intense, more fearful anyway, right? More like, oh my God, I hope this works. But no, it wasn't. It's never been this high intensity type of situation. And I'm sure that, having that money absolutely helps me feel less anxiety around it, but I don't think it is a requirement to start the company. It clearly wasn't, right?
Yeah. So the podcast is called The Founder That Marketing Show, and obviously you are a master at that. You practice it at Moz, blogging, I think 5 times a week. Now you're practicing it on LinkedIn. How big or small would you judge having done that is playing into your success? At Moz, that you grew so big, and at SparkToro, that you're able to run a calm company and still grow and make meaningful revenue.
I mean, brand builds on itself, right? So, the the brand, my personal brand, the fact that people know me and like me and trust me for years, the fact that I have lots of practice speaking, presenting, making visuals, diagramming things, working with big data, making these charts and graphs from clickstream research. It had a huge impact. I don't think I could have done this in my, early 20s. I think that both the brand value of, all these people who followed me, and also the value of having done this for a long time and learned what works and doesn't, especially what works for me with my audience, massive. Now, obviously, I'm challenging myself in the future with Snack Bar in a space I'm not familiar with a type of marketing I'm not familiar with, and that is going to be intense, right? So we raised a couple $1 million for that business. Again, not from venture investors, right? And this kind of, I wouldn't call Snack Bar quite a calm company, but I would say we are very anti-crunch. For people who are familiar with the video game world, crunch is kind of this, make your artists and programmers work 100 hours a week to get the Assassin's Creed game out and in time, that kind of thing. And we're super against that. Like, we're much more calm. Mm-hmm. Not as chill as SparkToro, but lower intensity. That team is only 7 people, although we'll probably add a couple more in the next year. But we raised a lot of money for it, relatively speaking, because I don't have the same ability to move the needle personally that I could with SparkToro.
Now, let's say you've been in this space for a long time. You have 180,000 followers on LinkedIn. People know you. They know of Moss. They know of SparkToro. If you had to start at zero again, so you know everything that you learned, but you have 0 followers, you have no brand, no one knows Rand Fishkin, you're not this person that people have heard, especially in the SEO and search space, and you have to start from zero. And let's say you're still running SparkToro, you're doing $1.5 million in revenue, and you're trying to grow it. What would you do? What would you focus on? How would you think about getting started from zero?
Oof. I mean, there's a bunch of questions I'd have about this fictional situation. Like, do I still have Amanda? Do people still follow her a bunch? Can we use that? But
no, you purely grew through sales, your network, events, no brand presence.
No brand presence. Man, I am going to say I would almost certainly go out and try and hire someone who's been there and done that before and who's got that extra leg up, and then piggyback on top of that existing brand and influence, because...
Well, you're still Rand, you still have your knowledge, so you're still a marketer, you're still...
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, essentially, I would grow my brand new fresh brand, obviously in the same ways that I'm doing now, but I would piggyback on top of someone that I hired and brought to the team who had extensive brand familiarity, right? Because I know the power of that personal brand, especially in this space. In the marketing technology space, reaching people who care about market research, audience research, social media marketing, content marketing, SEO, those kinds of practices, like you can feel it. There's almost no brand you've heard of in the space where you don't know the name of the people who are there. Mm-hmm. And as a result,
so you would hire basically a brand ambassador. You would find someone who. How would you think about incentivizing them and compensating them? Is the whole job just posting content and talking about the brand and the company?
I think it's content. I think it's probably speaking and events. I think it's probably videos. I think it's social media posting. I think it's also content on the website. It's also informing the product, right? Like, I would want them to contribute to the product ideas and approve, sort of like as Casey and I are building things, they can look at it and say, yeah, that rocks. I'm so excited to post about that. Oh, I can't wait to show that off to my network, because there's no substitute for that real excitement. Like, I don't know, how many people who are watching this have seen my videos about SparkToro, but you can tell that I have genuine effing excitement about certain things that we release, and other features, no offense, I think they're useful. People have asked us for them, but it's more like, hey, we built this thing that people asked for and launched it. I don't personally vibe with it, but that's fine. And then other stuff where I'm like, dude, have you seen how cool this is? Right? And I think that difference is palpable.
Now, I think you obviously have a lot of intuition around that, but I think for the audience, maybe to get a little bit more tactical, would you focus on LinkedIn, post twice a week, talk about research that you did? Like, what would that...
And YouTube. YouTube is a huge platform that I've underinvested in for years. I've talked to a bunch of people about YouTube, and I'm kind of starting fresh there. So I only have maybe 150 followers. I started there only 6 or 8 weeks ago, which is embarrassing, right? I should have been doing that for decades. But I think that's a big opportunity. I would also probably be doing a lot of Reddit community marketing. I think that the internet is moving in Reddit's direction, including in our space. And like I mentioned, AI tools are obsessed with Reddit. This includes Gemini, which powers Google's AI overviews. So Reddit is just a huge place where I would be commenting and posting and talking about things. I've posted a couple of times to our internet is beautiful with some of my data charts and gotten 1 million views, more than I've gotten on every other channel combined, with just a few hundred upvotes. Like that, the ability of Reddit to rank in Google, like someone does a Google image search for, whatever, ChatGPT's market share, and our stuff comes up because I posted it to our internet is beautiful and or data is beautiful, and just blew the F up. It's sort of a cheat code. I would also, I cross post to Blue Sky, Threads, and Twitter, and I would keep doing that. Yes, I do. I disclose that I'm Randfish on Reddit, even though almost nobody is themselves on Reddit. I like to do it, and I post both for SparkToro and Snackbar there, and just sort of, I've always been myself on the internet, so I just feel comfortable doing that, and it's sort of unique.
I mean, that sounds like a lot. You mentioned LinkedIn and YouTube and Reddit, and then reposting to Blue Sky and all these other things. Is that also what your advice would be for someone who is starting out?
No. See, those are things that I'm really good at. So you said I still have my knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
Because I'm good at them, because I get them, I would keep doing that, right?
Yeah.
Lean into your strengths. But if you are great at setting up a Google Ads campaign and just blowing out of the water with YouTube pre-roll, do that. And if you are fantastic at event marketing and meeting people in person and, being at a booth, then do that. And if your strength is meme marketing on social media, lean into it. And if your strength is hiring people and agencies and incentivizing them and working well with them, do that. So my advice is, you can use these channels and platforms the way I do, if you're good at that and you like doing that, but also you should lean into your own strengths.
Do you think there's any point if you're a founder, and let's say you're a technical founder, so you no marketing, no sales, you just love building product. Do you think there's any sense of trying to learn marketing and content and communication, or should you just hire a marketer and they do that and you just forget about it?
It really depends on who you are. There are some technical founders who end up being good at this stuff because their passion and their communication style resonates. And I would urge you to probably give it a try. See if you are a right fit for those places. But 75-80% of the time, when I've talked to technical founders, I'm like, you need your marketing, charismatic, sort of emotionally intelligent, more people-focused, read the internet room EQ type of person. That should probably be a co-founder, right? This is why Casey and I work really well together. I think that Inga, thank you for joining. Really appreciate you.
Bye, Inga.
Yeah, I think that if I were doing any other company, Snackbar, for example, my co-founders, right, the 5 of us, I'm the only person who doesn't know how to make games. The other 4 have done games, right?
Important disclosure. All right,
we're in
time here. Rand, this was awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the awesome background. And the stories, and everyone who was here, Chris, Mike, Inga who left, Michael, Toby, Fahad, thank you guys for your questions and for joining. And I'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Rand.
Thanks for having me, Finn. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.